We begin in total suffocating silence, a slow, creeping zoom into a single pale blue dot suspended in a vast, lightless void. This is Earth. From this distance, it looks peaceful, almost fragile, a marble of sapphire and cloud, a lonely spark in an ocean of shadow. But look closer. We are standing on a thin, cooling crust of rock, shielded by a delicate, transparent layer of gas, hurtling through a cosmic shooting gallery at 67,000 miles per hour. We have spent our entire existence believing this is the standard for reality, the baseline for what a planet should be. We think of danger as a storm, an earthquake, or a rising tide. We are profoundly, dangerously wrong. Our concept of hostility is a child's whisper compared to the screaming violence of the deep cosmos. We are not the rule. We are the most improbable exception in a universe that is fundamentally built to be a graveyard. Every breath you take is a defiance of a trillion lethal variables that, in any other corner of space, would have erased you before you could even blink. Deep in the lightless corridors of the Milky Way, there are worlds that defy the very laws of nature we take for granted. There are places where the rain is not water, but molten iron that sears through anything it touches. There are horizons where the wind moves faster than the speed of sound, shredding anything in its path into subatomic dust. There are planets so dark they swallow light itself, and others so hot they are actively being eaten by their own stars. These are not just hostile environments, they are physical manifestations of the universe's indifference to life. If Earth is a cradle, the universe is a graveyard of failed experiments and celestial nightmares. Today, we are leaving the safety of our atmosphere. We are traveling to the edges of the observable universe to witness the 9 most dangerous planets ever discovered. This is not science fiction. This is the terrifying reality of the cosmos, a reality that exists right now, just beyond the veil of our blue sky. By the end of this journey, you will not just fear the vacuum of space, you will realize that our existence on this tiny blue rock is not a right, but a miraculous, temporary reprieve from a universe that is trying to kill us. Prepare yourself, for we are about to uncover the secrets of the abyss. Number 9. WASP-12b, the Egg of Extinction. Imagine a world that is literally being stretched to its breaking point. This is WASP-12b, a gas giant located roughly 1,200 light-years away in the constellation Auriga, but it isn't a sphere, because it orbits its host star at such a suicidal distance, just over 2 million miles. The immense gravitational pull of the star is physically warping the planet into the shape of an egg. It is a world in the middle of a cosmic tug-of-war, and it is losing. The science here is a brutal display of tidal forces. The star's gravity is so intense on the near side of the planet compared to the far side that it creates a massive tidal bulge. This isn't just a cosmetic change. The planet is being torn apart from the inside out. As it is stretched, the internal friction generates immense heat, pushing surface temperatures to over 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But the heat is only the beginning of the nightmare. The atmosphere itself is being stripped away, forming a glowing shroud of planetary material that orbits the star like a ghostly trail of what used to be a world. The hidden twist of WASP-12b is that it is actively being consumed. The star is literally siphoning off the planet's atmosphere, eating about 189 quadrillion tons of gas every year. For any observer, this would be a vision of the ultimate countdown. You aren't just on a dangerous planet. You are on a planet that is disappearing. The very ground, if you can call it that, is being pulled into the maw of a celestial predator. It is a world that exists in a state of permanent, agonizing dissolution. The real-world consequence of such a proximity is the total breakdown of planetary integrity. On WASP-12b, there is no surface to stand on, only a churning, distorted abyss of superheated gas that is being pulled into the gravity well of its star. It serves as a grim reminder that even the largest worlds are nothing more than fuel for the stars that birthed them. The planet is a victim of its own origin, trapped in an orbit that ensures its eventual total erasure from the map of the cosmos. Philosophically, WASP-12b challenges our concept of permanence. We see planets as eternal fixtures of the night sky, but here we see a world in its death throes. It forces us to confront the reality that everything in the universe, from the smallest atom to the largest gas giant, is subject to a clock that eventually runs out. We are all just matter waiting to be recycled by the gravity of something greater. It is the ultimate lesson in humility. Even a world can be forgotten. Number 8. PSR B11257+12, the Zombie Realms. Most planets orbit living stars, engines of fusion that provide light and warmth, but 2,300 light-years away, there exists a system that orbits a corpse. These are the pulsar planets, designated PSR B11257+12b, c, and d. They orbit a pulsar, the collapsed, hyper-dense remnant of a massive star that exploded in a supernova. This pulsar rotates hundreds of times per second, acting like a cosmic lighthouse of death, casting a flickering, rhythmic shadow over its silent subjects. The scientific explanation for the danger here is invisible but absolute: radiation. As the pulsar spins, it emits intense beams of X-rays and gamma radiation. These beams sweep across the planets with every rotation, bathing them in a constant, lethal storm of high-energy particles. If you were to stand on the surface of one of these worlds, your DNA would be shredded instantly. The very building blocks of life would be torn apart at a subatomic level before you could even take a breath. The atmosphere, if there ever was one, has been blasted away, leaving only scorched, radioactive rock. The hidden implication of these worlds is their origin. These planets shouldn't exist. The supernova that created the pulsar should have vaporized any nearby planets. Scientists believe these zombie planets may have formed from the debris left over after the explosion, a second generation of worlds born from the ashes of the old. They are literal phoenixes, but instead of life, they are infused with the radiation of a dead sun. They are the children of a catastrophe, existing in a state of permanent radioactive haunting. The consequence of this environment is a total sterilization of reality. There is no atmosphere that can protect you, no cave deep enough to hide from the gamma rays. The sky would be filled with an eerie, flickering light as the pulsar's beams interact with whatever thin gases remain. It is a world of constant, silent bombardment, where the very concept of day and night is replaced by the rapid-fire pulse of a dead star's heart. Philosophically, the pulsar planets represent the afterlife of the cosmos. They show us that even after the death of a star, the universe continues to create, but what it creates is often hostile and unrecognizable. It suggests that life is a narrow window in the history of a solar system, and once that window closes, the universe enters a long, radioactive twilight where the only thing that remains is the cold, rotating ghost of what once was. It is a vision of a future that awaits many systems, a silent monument to the power of stellar death. Number 7. Ogle 2005 BLG 390LB, the Eternal Frost. If the previous worlds were defined by heat and radiation, our next destination is defined by the absolute absence of energy. Ogle 2005 BLG 390LB, often nicknamed Hoth after the frozen world in Star Wars, is one of the most distant and coldest planets ever discovered. Located near the center of the Milky Way, it orbits a small, dim red dwarf star that provides almost no warmth to its distant companion. The science of this world is a study in thermal despair. Because its star is so weak and the planet is so far away, the surface temperature is estimated to be a staggering -364 degrees Fahrenheit. This is just a few dozen degrees above absolute zero, the point at which all molecular motion stops. On this planet, the very air you would try to breathe would be frozen solid, lying on the ground like snow. Nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide would all be solid minerals, forming a landscape of frozen gases that would shatter like glass under the slightest pressure. The hidden twist here is the isolation. Because it is so far from Earth and orbits such a faint star, it was only discovered through a process called gravitational microlensing, using the gravity of a closer star to magnify the light of the distant one. It is a world that exists in a permanent, lightless winter, billions of miles from anything that could provide even a flicker of warmth. It is a place where time itself seems to have slowed to a crawl, as if the cold has frozen the very progression of events. The real-world consequence of such cold is the total cessation of chemistry. Life requires the movement of molecules, the flow of liquids, and the exchange of energy. On Ogul 2005 BLG 390LB, everything is static. Any machine we sent there would seize up instantly as its lubricants turned to glass and its circuits shattered from the contraction of the cold. It is a tomb made of ice, a place where the laws of biology are replaced by the laws of cryogenics. Philosophically, this frozen world represents the ultimate end of the universe, the heat death. It is a preview of a future where all stars have burned out and the cosmos has expanded so much that every object is isolated in a cold, dark void. It reminds us that warmth is a rare and precious commodity in a universe that is fundamentally trending toward the absolute zero of the void. It is a reminder that our sun is not just a light in the sky, but the only thing standing between us and the eternal frost of the abyss. Number 6. Venus, the beautiful deception. We often look to the stars for danger, but one of the most lethal environments in the known universe is our own neighbor. Venus is often called Earth's twin because of its similar size and composition, but that is where the similarities end. Venus is a cautionary tale of what happens when a planet's atmosphere turns into a weapon, a beautiful morning star that hides a heart of pure, unadulterated malice. The scientific reality of Venus is a runaway greenhouse effect. Its atmosphere is 96% carbon dioxide, which traps the sun's heat so effectively that surface temperatures reach a constant 900 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the surface of Mercury, despite being twice as far from the sun. But the heat isn't the only killer. The atmospheric pressure at the surface is 90 times that of Earth. Standing on Venus would feel like being 3,000 feet underwater. Your bones would be crushed instantly, and your lungs would collapse under the weight of the air itself. The hidden twist of Venus is its clouds. They aren't made of water vapor, but of highly concentrated sulfuric acid. While it rarely reaches the ground due to the extreme heat vaporizing it mid-air, the atmosphere is a corrosive soup that would dissolve any metal or fabric in minutes. The surface is a volcanic wasteland, covered in vast plains of basalt and thousands of volcanoes, some of which may still be active today. It is a world where the very air is trying to melt you, crush you, and dissolve you all at once. The consequence of this environment is a total lack of visibility and a crushing sense of claustrophobia. The thick atmosphere bends light so much that the horizon appears to curve upward, and the sun is nothing more than a dim yellowish glow behind a thick veil of acid. The wind at the surface is slow, but because the air is so dense, it moves with the force of a heavy tide, pushing against you with relentless, crushing power. It is a hellscape that we can see with our own eyes every night in the sky, a bright star that hides a nightmare. Philosophically, Venus is a mirror. It shows us what happens when the delicate balance of an atmosphere is broken. It is a reminder that the conditions for life are not just about location, but about the fragile chemistry of the air we breathe. Venus is a warning from the cosmos that a paradise can become a prison if the balance is tipped even slightly. It is the ghost of a world that might have been, a twin that took a dark and irreversible path. Number 5. Kepler 10b, the Iron Grave. Deep in the constellation, Draco lies Kepler 10b, the first rocky exoplanet ever confirmed by NASA's Kepler mission. But don't let the word rocky fool you into thinking of solid ground. Kepler 10b is a super-Earth that orbits its star 20 times closer than Mercury orbits our Sun. This proximity has turned the planet into a scorched, molten wasteland, a world where the very concept of solid is a distant memory. The science of Kepler-10b is dominated by its extreme heat, which exceeds 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. At these temperatures, iron and silicate rocks don't just melt, they flow like water. The entire daytime side of the planet is likely covered in a vast global ocean of lava. Because the planet is tidally locked, one side is a permanent sea of fire, while the other is a dark, frozen wasteland of igneous rock. The transition zone between the two is a place of unimaginable thermal stress, where the ground is constantly cracking and reforming. The hidden implication of Kepler-10b is its density. It is incredibly heavy for its size, suggesting it has a massive iron core. Some scientists believe the planet was once much larger, perhaps a gas giant like Neptune, but its outer layers were stripped away by the intense radiation of its star, leaving behind only the scorched metallic skeleton of a world. It is a planet that has been flayed alive, its skin and flesh burned away to reveal the cold, hard bone of its core. The real-world consequence of being on Kepler-10b is the sheer violence of the landscape. The atmosphere is likely filled with vaporized rock that condenses and rains down as pebbles. Huge plumes of volcanic gas erupt from the lava oceans, creating a sky filled with lightning and ash. The gravity is much stronger than Earth's, making every movement a struggle against the very planet that is trying to melt you. It is a world in a constant state of melting and re-solidifying, a cycle of destruction and creation that never ends. Philosophically, Kepler-10b represents the trial by fire. It is a world that has been stripped of everything, its atmosphere, its water, its potential for life, leaving only the core essence of what it is. It forces us to ask what remains when everything that makes a world habitable is burned away. It is the skeletal remains of a planet, a reminder of the destructive power of the stars and the resilience of matter in the face of absolute annihilation. Number 4. Taurus-2b, the abyss that burns in the constellation. Draco, there is a planet that shouldn't exist according to our models of light. Taurus-2b is a gas giant that is darker than coal, darker than black acrylic paint, and darker than any planet ever discovered. It reflects less than 1% of the light that hits it. If you were to fly toward it, you wouldn't see a planet at all. Only a terrifying hole in the stars, a void that seems to pull the very light out of the universe. The scientific explanation for this darkness is still a mystery, but researchers believe the atmosphere is filled with light-absorbing chemicals like vaporized sodium and potassium, or perhaps gaseous titanium oxide. These chemicals act like a sponge for photons, soaking up every bit of light the star throws at it. But don't mistake this darkness for cold. TRES-2b is a hot Jupiter, with temperatures reaching 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a world of heat without light, a paradox of physics that defies our visual intuition. The hidden twist of TRES-2b is its eerie glow. While it reflects no light, it is so hot that it emits a faint, dull red glow, like the embers of a dying fire or the coils of an electric stove. It is a world of total sensory deprivation, where the only thing you would see is a dim, hellish luminescence coming from the very air around you. The darkness is not empty, it is thick, heavy, and burning. It is a place where the eyes are useless, and the only sensation is the blistering heat against your skin. The consequence of this environment is a psychological horror. On Earth, we rely on light to navigate and understand our world. On TRES-2b, you would be suspended in a hot, suffocating void. The darkness would be absolute, yet the heat would be relentless. It is a place where the mind would quickly lose its grip on reality, trapped in a burning abyss that offers no visual landmarks and no escape from the oppressive, light-swallowing atmosphere. Philosophically, TRES-2b represents the unknown. It is a world that hides its secrets in the dark, refusing to reflect the light of the universe. It reminds us that there are things in the cosmos that we cannot see, even when they are right in front of us. It is a manifestation of the void, a reminder that the universe is not obligated to be visible or understandable to us. It is the shadow of the cosmos, a place where the light goes to die. Number 3. Kelt 9b, the planet that is a star. If Tree S2b is the heart of darkness, Kelt 9b is the heart of fire. Located 670 light-years away, this planet is so extreme that it blurs the line between a planet and a star. It is a gas giant that orbits a blue A-type star, which is much hotter than our Sun. The result is a world with a dayside temperature of 7,800 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not just heat, it is a thermal assault on the very nature of matter. The science of Kelt 9b is a study in molecular destruction. It is hotter than the surface of most stars in our galaxy. At these temperatures, molecules like water, carbon dioxide, and even hydrogen gas cannot exist. They are literally torn apart into their constituent atoms by the intense thermal energy. The atmosphere is a chaotic plasma of dissociated atoms, stripped of the ability to form the chemical bonds that are the foundation of everything we know. It is a world where chemistry has been replaced by atomic physics. The hidden implication of Kelt 9b is its inevitable fate. The planet is being blasted by so much ultraviolet radiation that its atmosphere is evaporating into space at a rate of 10 billion to 100 billion grams per second. It is trailing a massive tail of gas, like a comet, as it is slowly unmade by its host star. It is a planet that is being sacrificed to the light, its very substance being turned into a glowing wake that stretches across the system. It is a world that is literally burning itself out. The real-world consequence of this heat is a sky that would be blindingly bright. The atmosphere would glow with the intensity of a forge, and the weather would consist of atomic winds moving at thousands of miles per hour. There is no solid ground, no liquid water, only a screaming vortex of superheated atoms. The gravity is immense, pulling the atmosphere tight against the planet even as the star tries to rip it away. It is a world of constant, high-energy conflict. Philosophically, Kelt 9b represents transcendence through destruction. It is a planet that has become so hot, it has left the realm of planetary physics and entered the realm of stellar physics. It is a reminder that at the extremes of the universe, the categories we use to define reality, planet, star, solid, gas, begin to break down. It is a world that is being consumed by its own ambition to be close to the light, a cautionary tale of what happens when you fly too close to the sun. Number 2. WASP-76b, the Iron Rain. We return to the concept of tidally locked worlds, but on WASP-76b, the consequences are uniquely terrifying. This giant exoplanet is located 640 light-years away, and its relationship with its star creates a weather system that sounds like a nightmare from a medieval vision of hell. It is a world of two halves, one a permanent vaporizing furnace, and the other a dark, metallic storm. The scientific explanation lies in the extreme temperature gradient between the day and night sides. On the day side, temperatures soar to 4,350 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to vaporize iron. This iron vapor is then carried by powerful supersonic winds to the night side, where temperatures drop to a relatively cool 2,700 degrees. This sudden cooling causes the iron vapor to condense into liquid droplets. The result? It rains molten iron from the sky. This is not a metaphor, it is a literal physical reality of the planet's climate. The hidden twist of WASP-76b is the chemistry of its winds. As the iron condenses on the night side, it releases latent heat, which further drives the massive winds that whip around the planet. You wouldn't just be hit by iron rain, you would be hit by iron rain moving at thousands of miles per hour. The atmosphere is a heavy metallic soup, filled with the scent of vaporized steel and the crackle of thermal lightning. It is a world where the very air is a weapon, a metallic storm that never ends. The consequence of this environment is a landscape that is constantly being coated in a layer of fresh metal. If there were any mountains or valleys on the night side, they would be slowly buried under a thickening crust of iron. The sky would be a dark, metallic gray, filled with the heavy scent of ozone and vaporized steel. The pressure is immense, and the heat is inescapable. It is a world where the sky itself is a forge, and the ground is a graveyard of fallen metal. Philosophically, WASP-76b represents the inversion of nature. On Earth, rain is the source of life, the thing that allows plants to grow and animals to drink. On WASP-76b, rain is a lethal, heavy, and destructive force. It forces us to realize that the most basic elements of our survival are, in other parts of the universe, the very things that would ensure our destruction. It is a world where the sky itself is a forge, and the very concept of weather is a death sentence. Number 1. HD 189733b, the Blue Shredder. Finally, we reach the most dangerous planet ever discovered. At first glance, HD 189733b looks like a paradise. It is a beautiful deep cobalt blue, reminiscent of the oceans of Earth. But this blue is a lie. It is not the blue of water, but the blue of a silicate-rich atmosphere that hides a violence beyond human comprehension. It is a world that uses the color of peace to hide a reality of absolute slaughter. The science of HD 189733b is a combination of extreme heat and impossible wind. The planet is a hot Jupiter, orbiting very close to its star. The blue color comes from the scattering of light by tiny particles of silicate, essentially ground-up glass, suspended in the atmosphere. But these particles aren't just floating. They are being whipped around the planet by winds that reach 5,400 miles per hour. That is 7 times the speed of sound. The atmosphere is a global, supersonic sandblaster. The hidden twist is the rain. On this planet, the silicate particles condense into larger shards of glass. Because of the supersonic winds, this glass doesn't fall down. It rains sideways. To stand on the surface of HD 189733b is to be caught in a global storm of millions of glass shards moving at Mach 7. You wouldn't just be cut, you would be atomized. Your body would be shredded into a fine mist before you could even register the pain. The very air is a blade, and the wind is an executioner. The real-world consequence of this environment is a total erasure of form. Anything placed in this atmosphere, a probe, a ship, a human, would be sandblasted out of existence in seconds. The beautiful blue color is the result of 1 trillion tiny mirrors reflecting the light of a star, a shimmering veil over a world of absolute high-velocity slaughter. It is a world where the beauty is the danger, and the color of home is the color of your destruction. Philosophically, HD 189733b is the ultimate deception. It is a reminder that beauty in the universe is often a mask for terror, a shimmering veil drawn over the face of an executioner. It teaches us that our senses are tuned to a very specific, very narrow range of reality, a frequency of existence that is rare beyond measure. We see blue and think of water, of life, of home. We see the color of our own sky and feel a sense of kinship. But the universe doesn't care about our associations or our emotional attachments to a specific wavelength of light. It can take the color of our home and use it to paint a masterpiece of absolute, high-velocity destruction. It is the final, most chilling lesson of our journey. In the cosmos, appearances are not just deceiving, they are a trap. The very things that draw us in are often the things that will ensure we never leave. It is a world that mocks our intuition, a blue jewel that is actually a grinding, supersonic mill of glass. Conclusion: the miracle of the margins. We have traveled across the graveyard of the cosmos, from worlds of iron rain to abysses of total darkness. We have seen planets being eaten by their stars and worlds where the air itself is a storm of glass. We have witnessed the pulsar planet's radioactive dance and the frozen despair of the eternal frost. And now, we return to that pale blue dot, hanging in the dark. Look at Earth again. It is not just a planet. It is a miracle of the margins. We live in a tiny, improbable sliver of space and time where the temperature is just right, the pressure is just right, and the chemistry is just right. We are the exception, not the rule. The universe is not a garden designed for us. It is a vast, indifferent machine that produces nightmares with the same ease that it produces stars. We are the lucky few who have found a quiet corner in a very loud and violent room. The danger of these 9 planets is not just in their heat or their radiation. The real danger is the realization they bring that our existence is fragile, temporary, and utterly unique. We are a brief spark of consciousness in a dark and violent room. Every breath we take is a defiance of the cosmic norm. Every day we survive is a victory against a universe that is fundamentally hostile to our form of life,